When I start shooting, all y'all gonna clear out.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we have another news article. This one is from Harada and he's talking about the future. We all know that he plans to retire after Tekken 9. He wants Tekken 9 to release roughly the same time as the PlayStation 6, as he feels that whenever Tekken release as a launch title for PlayStation, it does better. So that's what he's aiming for. After that, like I said, Harada is planning to leave. Michael Murray will go with him. At that point in time, Nakatsu and all of the fresh blood in Bandai Namco Studios, the developers over there, they will take over and Tekken will be theirs to carry the torch. Now, we have seen this torch passing before. Harada isn't the creator of Tekken. A lot of people don't know this, but there's another guy who actually created the series. At the time of recording this video, today is his birthday, so shout out to him. He's also the co-creator of Virtual Fighter, so this guy has done a lot for 3D fighting games and just fighting games in general. But Harada took over after him, going from Tekken 2 to Tekken 3, and Harada is the one who actually made Tekken what it is today. He had 3D movements, they eventually added walls, they eventually added combos. Every mechanic you could think of, Harada pretty much added. And without him, Tekken will look very different, but we can assume for the better, we can assume for the worse. But let's hear what Harada has to say about it. This headline says, Harada isn't worried about his future absence damaging the series. The quote says, won't be hard to continue with someone else. It won't be hard. For those of you who don't know this, Harada already is playing a smaller role in Tekken. It's kind of already a version of Nakatsu's game. Nakatsu is someone who stepped up in Tekken Tag Tournament 2. He had a small role, a big role, but a small role. He was one of the reasons why that game turned out to be something that the hardcore players loved, even though that game got a lot of feedback from, like, casuals, and the sales wasn't that good. They took all of that, learned, adjusted, adapted, and they put out Tekken 7. Now, Nakatsu is a very big reason why Tekken 7 did what it did, which is why if you look at his resume, he continued to get promoted. Started off small, big. Now Tekken 8, he is in charge. He does the balancing. We see he picks a lot of the characters. Harada was asked on Twitter, would you put this character in the game? Would you put that character in the game? And Harada said, we'll leave that to the next generation. And that's specifically talking about Nakatsu and his team once they fully take over. I do think that Nakatsu can do it. I mean, look at what he did with Tekken 7. Tekken 8 is kind of rough, but I don't think that Harada is going to leave the series in the hands of someone incapable or someone who would immediately destroy it. The part of the paragraph that I will start reading, it says, when asked by Eurogamer whether Tekken team would be ready for a future without him, Harada responded, this was translated by Michael Murray, there are two types of games. A game that solely focuses on the story and setting, and games where gameplay and game systems are the focus. So when you divide games into those two categories, a series that is narrative focused is hard to envision when its major person is gone. I mean, think about a Kojima game without Kojima. But for Tekken, I feel it's the latter. Of course, people are in love with characters and story, but it's mainly a 3D game where you can launch your opponent, do aerial juggles, etc. I feel over the past 30 years, the gameplay has been polished and everything is in place, so it's much easier to continue with someone else. I mean, just think about the way people were talking about Season 1. People were saying the things here in Season 1, it's a little rough, but it can be better if you just polish it. And when Harada is talking about how they've been polishing Tekken for 30 years, I mean, yeah, Nakatsu can definitely do that. I mean, that's what they did with Tag 2. Tag 2 was rough. They polished it, and then Tekken 7, right? So they could polish Tekken 8 and produce a Tekken 9, polish your Tekken 9, produce a Tekken 10 or Tekken Tag Tournament 3. It's not like they're creating a new something from scratch. And the part here where Harada's talking about stories, think about Star Wars and Disney. Everyone showed up because it was George Lucas' vision. Once Disney started to forego that and started to put their own vision in there, that's when you heard people say, it's not Star Wars. This is not what we want. This is not the, Skywalker saga, right? So that's the difference that Harada is highlighting there, which I think is very true. When asked whether this approach is important to maintain a post-Harada Tekken, Harada says, we're public figures. For Tekken, sure, compared to the other people outside of the company, and this is my personal opinion, not the official stance of Bandai Namco. It really depends on the game. There's other games out there, even fighting games, where there's no public figure attached to it. Think about it. Think about it, right? Who's the guy who leads Guilty Gear? Who's the guy who leads Street Fighter? Who's the guy who leads Virtual Fighter? A lot of these games don't need a Harada. They don't need an Ed Boon. It's just an extra element when they do have it. But at times, Harada, the Ed Boons, they could become the targets when things go wrong. When Street Fighter goes wrong or Guilty Gear goes wrong, who do people generally target? I don't know. Maybe you guys do. For Tekken, we stand out, but that's because when we first started doing community interactions, Evo was much smaller. Other tournaments were much smaller. The community was much smaller. We were right at the time also when arcades across the world disappeared. So it's like, where do you see your audience and find out what they want? We personally felt it was better to go to these events to interact with people to get a broad sampling and make up our minds about what to do with the game. That doesn't mean that's necessary, perhaps. Other games are successful without that. It's not like you have to do that or the game won't succeed. It's just what we felt was necessary for us at that time. Michael Murray says, personally, I feel similar. At the time, there was no internet and forums. There were just arcades. Now it's just internet. But is that really where you want to get your information from? I think you have to make the best decisions at the time. Personally, I don't think we would continue doing this the same way we've always done. I don't get paid a stipend for talking to people on the internet either. But Michael Murray be chiming in and just like not helping. Like, but you could tell he's like scarred by all of the backlash he gets, you know? It kind of is a cautionary tale, like a tragic tale. It's a tale of some sort of how a developer was very respected, but then when you put that person in an online environment, they don't understand how to navigate it. They don't understand how to communicate. They don't understand how to come off in a way that's not so aggressive, like he's doing here, right? You could clip this, put it on Twitter, and someone will be upset, tweeting him, telling him this, telling him that. But it just seems like he's out of place in the internet world. A lot of people are. That's why a lot of people don't use it. But going back to what Harada said, once Harada decides to leave, most people will be unaffected. Most people won't know. Most people won't care. But I think the people who are really diehard, people who's been following the series for a very long time, those are the players who would feel the loss. Those are the players who would feel the difference. You know, when there's not, you know, Harada's tweets on Twitter, Michael Murray on Twitter, Nakatsu on Twitter. You know, they were talking about setting up some kind of Discord forum where people could just submit their complaints that way. They're balancing wishes and whatnot. But when that happens, that's when you'll see this shift. And I personally don't know what that looks like. Will Tekken become this more silent corporation, or will they continue to keep this like strong connection that Harada's talking about here? When they do retire, Nakatsu will have to step up in more ways than just one. Like, I wonder, will he still continue going around the tournaments? That's Harada's tradition. Does Nakatsu have to continue it, or does he show up just to reveal a character, then he pieces off into the distance? It really is an interesting moment for Tekken, because the franchise is trying to climb out of a hole, but also the leaders is getting to that point to where they're getting old and they're thinking about retiring, letting go, moving on. We've seen this handing off of the franchise happen once before, and that one went really well. The franchise got a lot better, and I mean, to be fair, the same thing could very well happen. Nakatsu, a lot of the great ideas that we get in Tekken 8, whether it be customization, whether it be main menu stuff, whether it be photo mode, a lot of that stuff comes from Nakatsu. He seems like he has a lot of great ideas, but he has to submit them for approval first. Who knows what he would be able to accomplish if he had full control. I want to think positive about him taking over, because if you think negative, I mean, of course it's going to be super terrible and it's going to be, you know, doom and gloom and when Harada leaves, I leave, you know, stuff like that. But I think Tekken, like Harada is saying here, it could continue forward. It's just you have to continue to do what you always did, and that's deliver Tekken, deliver good gameplay, and just keep the players happy.